For legal reasons, I have to say that I am here today as the Executive Director of DoD FedGlobe, and it is not my intent to reflect the views of my employer, the Department of Defense. Today is a very special day. It is September 20th of 2011, and Don't Ask, Don't Tell has been repealed. And the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community did not get that repealed just on its own. We had many valiant allies, and tonight I am happy to present to you one of our most valiant allies, Brigadier General David Brahms, who was in charge of the JAG officers at the Pentagon while he was working in the military before he retired. He had a long career, and every time throughout that career and after that career, he has always been on the right side of equality. And I'm happy to present General Brahms.
She promised that I would not have to make a speech, and I won't. Tonight is a night to celebrate a signal victory, one that took an incredible amount of effort to achieve in the face of great opposition. And lest you doubt that the opposition was great, there were 1,200 retired flag and general officers, all persons of substance, all persons of great experience and facial credibility, who opted to argue against it and did so vociferously. It is a bit of a miracle that this victory was obtained. It's also a night to celebrate commitment to the fights that will follow. Those fights will be long and hard. And lest you doubt it, the Commandant of the Marine Corps about a month ago had the temerity to send out a missive saying that he wanted to increase the number of black officers in the Marine Corps. It was met with a firestorm of protest. You're social engineering. You are selecting based on race. This will destroy our Corps. Those voices are there. Those voices will be heard in your fight, in our fight. We must together fight, or tonight will become simply another day to celebrate quietly without significant meaning. Doubt me? Let me give you some numbers. 14,000. Those are the numbers of persons who have been discharged under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy since its inception in 1993. 14,000 of our brothers and sisters have been discharged. Some with bad discharges, some with general discharges. There is no plan at the moment to specially review those discharges. The press release issued by the DoD today is, well, each one of you may make application on your own. The fight must take it to the Pentagon and say those are our brothers and sisters, they are persons who serve our military, and they deserve to be treated in a way which is fair and equitable. We cannot simply wave a hand and make them go on. There are literally thousands of young men and women eager to return to the military, and there is no room in the inn. Notwithstanding that they were thrown out on a policy that was, from its inception, misbegotten. A policy that required young men and women wearing uniform to violate the fundamental principle, core value, if you will, of integrity, to live a life. We celebrate the end of that, but we can't celebrate the fact that those young men and women who want to return will have a place, or that they will be compensated for the losses that they suffered through this misbegotten policy. And lest you think the fight is over, despite the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, who stood up and said, this is the way we must go, this is what's right, this is in keeping with historic American principles. The question is, who will follow? Discrimination in today's world has become extraordinarily clever and insidious. I don't need to call names. I don't need to preclude entry. I simply need to lay a hand on you which will diminish your worth. A clever fitness report. An assignment that you don't get when someone was straight down. We need to remember, brothers and sisters who fit under the letter T, there is no justice for those who are transgender. Period. And if you look at today's press release, they boldly state that. There is no plan to address that. There is no plan to embrace that group of people. The fight needs to continue. You need to do it together. Together with all the gay brothers and sisters, all of you, when I'm fully aware of some of the rifts that have occurred among organizations representing the gay and lesbian community. You got to find a way to end the Rice Bowl fight and get back together, because these fights are going to be long and hard. And you've got to be willing to stand up. So there are more days like today, days when gay men and women ran off to Gretna Green, well, maybe not Scotland, they ran to Vermont and various other places and openly got married, where the photo of the rugby team with your loved one hidden in the back suddenly was replaced by a picture of your loved one face full. That's glorious. It will only continue and grow and be nurtured if you make it so. So tonight is a night to celebrate a signal victory. It is also a night to celebrate a commitment to continue the fight. And my hope is that you will. And I will be with you and not standing on the sidelines. Do it. Make it happen. And we will celebrate 9/20/11 for a very long time. And by the way, when you are conducting the fight, one of the first orders of business is to get rid of another number, 125. For those of you with military service, you understand that that is the provision of the Uniform Code of Military Justice that makes criminal sodomy. Okay, forcible sodomy seems like a good thing to do. That's in keeping with a long-standing tradition of criminal law. But wait a minute. Consensual sodomy. Yes. Yes. Consensual sodomy. Oral sex is precluded by the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, the press release tells us, don't worry about a thing. You do remember Lawrence v. Texas, in which the Supreme Court established that a right of sexual privacy, and what you do in private is none of anybody's business. And those of us who defend cases, stood up and said, hooray, we can get rid of this nonsense. And the courts, the military courts, basically eschewed that rule and said, no. Well, the official pronouncement is that for consensual oral sex or other kinds of sodomy to be criminalized, it has to violate two principles. One of two principles. One, that it affects good order and discipline. I dare you to define that. It's like beauty, that's in the eye of the beholder. And last, that it is conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline. That again is in the mind's eye, and it's in the mind's eye of the populace in general. And we ask the question, what would ordinary Americans think about this behavior? Would it redound to the disgrace of our military entity? Doesn't that open the door for bringing in additional and continuing prejudice? 125 was supposed to be, the consensual point of 125 was supposed to be wiped away. It hasn't been. The religious right is not going to let it go. It's going to have to be a hell of a fight. You're going to have to man your positions if this is to go away. And it opens the door to some real mischief under the military justice system, which is not a unified system with a centralized prosecutor making policy decisions. It is a disparate system in which every commanding officer has the right to make decisions about who will be prosecuted and who will not be prosecuted. Take up the fight. Continue the fight. It is the way it's going to work. And make this night something to remember, something to be celebrated. And perhaps one day on the mall in Washington, there will be a gay hero on a statue, and all of us can go and visit. Until that day comes, the war will